are now on the heels of this debate that has made its rounds on social media, aka YouTube and X, Instagram, all the platforms. Everybody's talking about it. It's starting to die down now, but Andrew Wilson, he was on a round table, a manosphere round table with Myron Gaines, Rollo Tomasi, I think Michael Sertain, and a few other gentlemen that I don't know about, but they were also on the panel. And of course, both sides said they won. Of course, Coach Greg Adams said he won the debate, and Andrew Wilson also said that he won.
Come on, man.
And really, this just boils down to whoever movement or idea you subscribe to, right? But he goes on here, and what he said about Coach Greg Adams and the debate in general is probably typical of somebody like Andrew Wilson, all right? So we're going to listen to this. I will leave a link to this in the description box. It is from Rollo Tomasi's channel. This is West Coast Avengers. This was also in Las Vegas. They met up, and Andrew Wilson promotes this gathering he's about to have soon. And everybody's giving their take on how debates actually should work. And of course, they're going to use Coach Greg Adams as an example. All right. So let's get into this. I got two segments I want to cover. The first one is toward the beginning of this roundtable discussion, where Andrew Wilson, of course, takes his personal shots at CGA. And I know CGA took his too. I get it, right?
I beg your pardon.
But he gives his opinion on debates in general. And then later on in there, once Myron shows up, because Myron came late, he's going to come back to the topic of the Coach Greg Adams debate again, and his words will be a little more harsh in that particular segment. All right, let's get into this. This is on Rollo Tomasi's channel. Before I get into the reaction, fair use.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
You did mention before people don't really debate now, or they don't understand the concept of debate. You've had ones that are degenerate into name calling and stuff like that, and the art of it is lost because, like you said before, you're generally not trying to convince the person across from you of your viewpoint, but the audience that's watching.
Yeah, the audience is what matters more than anything. It's nice if you can convince the person across from you too, but it's not really the goal. So like an example of this, in this very studio at this very table, 2 nights ago, I was debating with that was what, last night?
2 nights
ago. 2 nights ago. Okay, yeah. Debating with a complete fucking idiot.
And the chat is going nuts right now.
Who didn't know.
Now, of course, again, this debate went viral on social media, mainly YouTube. Everybody's reacted to it. And so the chat knows exactly who they're talking about. They don't have to name names, but eventually they will. And you know, Rollo Tomasi does not, he's not a big fan of CGA either. Me personally, I don't know why, but we're talking about manosphere here, but there is a divide, if you will, between the black and the white part of the manosphere, aka the black manosphere. And that's a different topic for another day. But Rollo Tomasi doesn't care for CGA at all, and the feeling's mutual, of course, with CGA. I've heard both of them talk about each other before. And now we're adding Andrew Wilson to that part of that ire, that, despise, whatever. But in any case, now we're going to get into the debate and why he thinks it was trash and why he doesn't like CGA. So let's continue.
This guy didn't know anything, and he was just an incoherent, babbling mess. And what happens is they get in their emotions, they start filibustering, they don't know what to say, right? Debate is about structured arguments for propositions and determining whether the proposition is true or false based on those arguments. And it's like, look, that is an art form that's going by the wayside, which is incredible considering that the war of our time is an information war, not a physical one. And debate is the best weapon you have in it. And so many people are so bad at it. And it's definitely a tool you need, which is also a shameless plug for Debate University. So you need to go over there and get my debate course immediately because it's awesome. So shameless plug there as well.
Okay, so you saw he briefly talked about how he was a trash debater and things like that. He was filibustering, all those kind of things in that studio. I guess this studio is in Las Vegas. I guess the social hour was also taped in Las Vegas. So this must be some kind of studio that everybody uses. Cool. I don't know where it is, but I guess it's some type of multi-use place that everybody uses. In any case, Andrew Wilson made his case that right there to his audience and to the audience in general of Rollo Tomasi and everybody else, this group, that CGA doesn't know how to debate. Now we're going to get into another clip where they all kind of pile on to CGA and basically how they don't like him, how they thought the debate was, not good, things of that nature, right? So stay right there.
A few moments later.
Is basically like the second president
Yeah.
with Doge and everything else. Obviously, he walked away from it because he had lost so much money with Tesla and everything, all his other stuff, death threats and everything else like that. So he had to step away, and then him and Trump had their little riffs. But I think he did it for political reasons, to have some type of influence, but also probably to see some entertainment as well.
I got to get to super chats when we
Do it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm off you.
all right, so the super chats.
Before I get into this before we get into the segment in question, Myron Gaines, at one point I assume was, I guess him and Coach Greg Adams used to be cool. Now, Coach Greg Adams on one of his live streams a day or so ago mentioned this part, how him and Myron were cool, but Myron is hanging out with people that are against CGA. Now, does that make CGA now an enemy of Myron? That has been floated around now. Okay, now I don't know how true that is. I'm not in those high up circles in this particular space to know this, but CGA mentioned that he speaks with Fresh, but not necessarily Myron anymore, because Myron has, I guess, indirectly chosen a side, and not with the debate, but just in general of people that rock with this guy versus this guy. So just putting it out there, Myron is up there in the in the higher ups of the manosphere or whatever. Again, these people, Tomasi, Andrew, all these other people, and so CGA is pretty much an enemy of the state right now when it comes to the the manosphere and the red pill and all that kind of stuff. So just putting it out there. CGA is, in my opinion, underrated, but he's also, I guess, like I said, he'd be kind of like an enemy of the state at this point, because he does things. He's arrogant, things like that. A lot of people don't like him for whatever reason. I really don't know myself, but that's what it is. Just putting it out there. Myron, it seems, has indirectly chosen a side in this whole thing, not necessarily this debate, but just in general with his allegiances. And so that has been brought up.
Again! Basically focus on one thing. They want to talk shit about you and CGA. So here's it. Question for Andrew. Big reason why the red pill doesn't give prescriptions is because we would feel morally responsible. And then this is continued. Is the church willing to take responsibility for the men who fail 10% of the time? Things like help him get a new wife financially, etc. If the church had a MOA, like Mike's MOA, to help, most dudes would marry.
This question is so easily answered. Yes, of course. Men find solace in the church and the community of the church, and they help them through all sorts of moral crisis and financial crisis. Why is this news to you, chatter? Are you fucking stupid? This has been ongoing from the community of the church since the dawn of time. The entirety of the church is designed to assist you through crisis. What are you talking about?
I got another one here.
Will they take responsibility? They're the only ones who take responsibility. You know what red pillars don't do? They don't take responsibility for the mass promiscuity that they promote, like Coach CG Dumbass, who put out a tweet saying, go ahead and fuck hookers. How's that kind of degeneracy going to help us win the culture war here? How's that kind of degeneracy going to bring down the same single moms he says not to marry? How's that going to help that? It's not. How's it going to help with male STDs? It's not. How's it going to help men not commit suicide? It's not going to do any of those things. The guy is fucking stupid. And you people who talk like, it's like you can't follow a debate.
Oh, but they got you on this one. Are non-state recognized unions subject to the family court? Does palimony exist? If the answers to any of these questions is yes, then Andrew was factually wrong when debating CGA.
No, not only was I not factually wrong, I pointed out that there was only certain states where that was correct. It was pulled up in fact check, and I was right. Because I'm always right.
Andrew made an absolute claim that non-state recognized unions can't end up in family court, aka divorce court. Also, he has a marriage contract himself.
Yes, but so do you think?
Before I let them continue on, the argument that they had in that debate, to me, for one, let me go back to the moderator and the whole person that put the show together. Sean Kelly, pretty much, in my opinion, didn't moderate this at all. And this is another reason why the conversation was able to, degrade into what it turned out to be at the end of the debate. But here's the other thing. Both these guys could have their ideas actually intersect. You know what I mean? Like CGA says that because marriage, not only the state contract, but even if you don't get married by the state, you can still have the state involved in your relationship, i.e. child support, i.e. common law marriage. If you've been together for any sort of amount of time, that can be used against you in court and things like that. Now, yeah, are there a small number amount of marriages that are not on paper that can work long term? Yes. But we're not talking about the minority. We're talking about the majority of relationships in marriage. And that's where Andrew Wilson's argument to me is not strong, or his solution, I would say, is strong. At the same time, Andrew Wilson saying that, well, ACGA, your idea of, well, we're just going to adapt this way to society also might not be helpful. Could that be true? Maybe. But the problem is that's where society is going. So, in my opinion, CGA's argument was stronger than Andrew Wilson because of how society and how the laws work currently. So you can't be like, okay, well, your only solution to the problem of today, as far as marriage concerned, not actually because the whole society of men, that's a whole nother broader, bigger topic. But we're just keeping it down to just marriage. The solution can't just be, well, instead of getting a state-sponsored marriage, we're just going to do it off paper and have children, blah, blah. Well, that doesn't work because you can still have your wages garnished. You can still have your property taken, even if you don't get to marriage on paper. And that's what CJ is trying to say. And so when you mix that with hookup culture, you mix that with, women's first, aka feminism, when you mix that with, the family course and all those kind of things, where is the incentive to get married besides having children? Because you can have children without getting married. That's the only incentive. You can wealth build without getting married as well. So where is the incentive to get married at this point? And if you want to have intimacy, you can have that without marriage all day long, twice on Sunday. We got dating apps, you got, as you call it, JUCO and things like that. Like, is it degenerate? Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to, boil it down to it, yeah. But where society is, men have to benefit. We got to get in where we fit in. So yeah, we're going to have to go that route. Yeah. So that was my whole thing. So really, they could have had a better argument to me if it was moderated better. And I don't think that either one of these guys did their homework on each other, which was another thing. And that's on the individual, Andrew and CGA, if we're being fair about it. But in my opinion, who had the stronger argument? If we're going off of marriage and how society is today, in my opinion, CGA has a stronger argument. Now, like I said, if we could get the government on our side, if we can get the lobbyist groups on our side, if we can get, we can somehow steer women back on course, then Andrew Wilson would have a great idea. Unfortunately, that's not the current situation we live in, right? So I think CGA's argument was better. Let's go.
Like, for instance, out of all the men who are in here, I probably have the most robust belly. But do you think that if I point out that another guy is fat, that means because I also am fat, that I can't point that out? It doesn't matter if I have a marriage contract. I can still point out flaws in marriage contracts. It has no bearing whatsoever on an argument.
Yeah.
You, chatter, are fucking stupid. And much like Coach Dipshit can't follow a coherent argument. Just follow the argument. That's all I ask. The argument was simple. The argument that I was making is if you're inclined to get married, right? Remember, the topic is marriage in the West, not divorce in the West. If you're inclined to be married, which form of marriage is going to give you the best outcomes to mitigate disaster? It's very clear that since Orthodox marriage, 9% divorce, Catholic marriage is, I've seen it as low as 18%, depending on the Pew study, as high as 21 or 23%. It's still your best bet out of all of them. And if you agree, and the Coach Dipshit did, that marriage has all sorts of benefits for men, and you want to engage in those benefits, then don't you want to go for the thing that mitigates the most amount of risk? Answer, yes. Simple. His audience, and I'm just going to point this out to all of you who might be here right now, who are Coach Dipshit's audience. That guy is one of the dumbest fucking people that I have ever sat across from and debated, bar none. And I have no expectation that anybody who's following him is any different.
What?
Just want to point that out.
Boom. Boom.
And there you go. If you are one of CJ's followers, then you are a dumbass, and you're one of the dumbest people he's ever met, much like CGA. You might think that way. I don't know. I had a lot of people in my comment section on the one of the videos I did, which, thank you guys for the engagement. And most of these people must be Andrew Wilson followers, because I've got nothing but negative comments, and that's okay. Hey, it is what it is. I'm not going to take the video down. You can feel free to comment. But yeah, Andrew Wilson has responded to the debate that he had between CGA. He has given his opinion, as you heard. He doesn't think very much of CGA or the debate in general. What do you think about that, huh? And, I believe the majority of the people on this panel, I don't know how Myron feels, because I don't think Myron really had a lot to say in this. If you notice, Myron, I didn't hear a lot of laughs or commentary from Myron when it came to CGA. I assume because he still has a bit of loyalty to CGA, and I think that a lot of guys on the panel know this. So if Myron said anything, you would definitely know where he stood there, right? So I assume now when they get ready to talk about other things, Myron will rejoin the conversation. But there you go. And with that being said, thank you for taking another episode of the Working Man Podcast. I am your host, Nicholas J. Fury. Let me know what you think about what Andrew Wilson had to say about CGA. Are you team Andrew Wilson, or are you team Coach Greg Adams? Let me know down in the comment section what you think about it. And please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell on your way out of the door. And I will see you on the next video.